Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. The football team's going to be scrimmaging later on tonight, so we won't have any news and notes on that until hopefully tomorrow morning. P and I might be talking about that with y'all live, so stay tuned to the channel. We will let y'all know if we will be going live for it. But it is time for us to take a look at our updated big board for the 2025 class, and we're really going to flip the page and start to look a lot deeper into some of the prospects in the 2026 class that's on that big board because we got some verified information from the insiders. So, as always, y'all, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so we're going to be starting off with our big board for the 2025 class up under expected commits. Right up at the top, of course, it's David Sanders, the five-star offensive tackle, number one rated offensive lineman in the entire class. A lot of people are saying that he could be a generational talent. Whenever I watch his film, I see the exact same thing. So it brings me great joy to say that it sounds like he's going to be picking our Volunteers on August the 17th. Now, our insiders have been saying this for the longest time. Now all of the national experts and things like that are kind of pointing towards our Volunteers as well. But Ohio State and Nebraska are still in this race. I just think that there's more separation at this point than there has been earlier in this process. So next is going to be Onis Konabani, who's set to announce on August the 23rd. Is going to be choosing between us and Florida State. That's been his top two for, I would say, like a month or so now. Either way, whenever he came up on his visit in Knoxville, he actually committed on somebody's IG Live. So I feel great about that. Also, he had a post on some social media platform that I just so happened to see Shady Hayward either like reposted or commented under, and he said that this is the new DBU. That's all I'm gonna say. So I feel good about how we're trending for Onus, and I mean his game just speaks for itself. He's a tall guy. He's a bigger guy. He can definitely play corner. I think he has like an elite skill set at that position, but he could also play star for you just because he is so big. And I've said before, I don't think that he's going to be playing safety, but he could do that as well. So it's going to be huge to add a very versatile player on August the 23rd. Next, at the top of possible commits, we have five-star offensive lineman Josh Petty. And Chad Simmons just put an RPM in favor of Georgia Tech for Josh Petty. And we talked about that last week. We kind of felt like he was trending more in that direction. Florida State's probably number two. I would say that Tennessee is still number three. And I have him still up here just because he has us as as one of his finalists, and he grew up a huge Tennessee fan. His whole family, they're huge, huge Tennessee fans. Now that Florida State's kind of out of the picture and he's not just, really set on going to school with his sister, I think that it's kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say anybody's game, but if it's us versus Georgia Tech, if you're looking at it from a football perspective and all that, I mean, you would definitely be choosing Tennessee. But it just kind of feels like he wants to go to a school to get the highest level of education that he possibly can. And I'm not mad at him for that. Maybe he also wants to play up against Georgia every single season. I don't think that that rivalry is going to be going away, anytime soon. But Tennessee won't be playing up against Georgia every year like we used to coming up here, in the next 3 to 4 years. So that could have been part of his, plan the whole time. I don't know either way. I really like Josh Petty. I think that he could play anywhere on the offensive line. I would love it if he does end up in this class. He's set to announce on August the 12th. We'll see what happens. I mean, I just would not be shocked if he ultimately does end up in this class. But at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked to see him go elsewhere. I would say that it's probably, in my opinion, I'd say Tennessee has like a 30% chance at this point. Now, on to the next player. We have Jaden Harmon, four-star linebacker from Rome, Georgia. And if y'all have been watching this channel for a while, then y'all have heard his name before. He's the first linebacker that we talked about in the 2025 class, and we loved his film. I would say he's very similar to like an Arion Carter, with this style of play because he plays with tremendous speed, sideline to sideline, and he thumps whenever he gets there. He's a football player, and he actually, I think grew up as a Tennessee fan as well. That whole area, like that, everything that's off of 75, there's a ton of Tennessee fans in that area. And it does feel like he was a Tennessee fan because we were number one on his list earlier in this process. But he has since committed to Alabama. I think that we have a good chance to flip him. Sounds like he's still been in contact with our staff, and he's expected to make it up for, an unofficial visit at some point in the fall to take in a game or two. But I would not be shocked if we could add him to this class. We definitely want to add one more linebacker, but you just don't want to reach. If we can add him, I would say that we are doing a hell of a job at the linebacker spot. Now, the next player is going to be four-star defensive tackle Andrew Maddox, who's currently committed to Ole Miss. I love his film. He kind of puts me in the mind of like an Omar Norman Lott, right? He's, kind of a bigger guy. He hasn't fully filled out just yet, but he could probably be there. His first step off of the ball is tremendous. He's very explosive at the point of contact. And I think that he could, disrupt runs, and he could also be very disruptive as a pass rusher, very, very similar to Omar Normalized. So we're still working on him, hoping that we can get a flip out of him. He's also expected to be coming up and taking in a game or two this fall. Hopefully, we can bring him on up with Jaden Harmon and we can flip them at the same time. I think that that would be really big. Now, the last player is going to be three-star athlete D. Morris. Will he make it up on campus at some point? Hopefully he does. He's also expected to come up. I think that they said the Alabama game, right? I think that's what the insiders have been saying, that they're hoping that that's the one he's going to be coming up to. But until he comes up on campus, don't have a whole lot of confidence in that one. But it would be huge to add him because he would be another running back body, to go along with the Justin Baker. And now it's finally time to take a look at our big board for the 2026 class. There's only 14 players up here. I'm telling you, there's way more on our big board at this point. It's so early on in the process, but all 14 of these players have shown real interest in our volunteers. So starting at the top, Kendra Harrison, 6'6", 250-pound, five-star tight end. This kid is a stud. He's now at Providence Day School in Charlotte. That's the same school that David Sanders goes to, and a couple of other players. We'll talk about at least one more as we kind of go through this whole deal here. But I mean, he has great size. He's very explosive. He's a multi-sport athlete, plays basketball as well. Some of y'all probably have seen some of his clips, shattering backboards and all that. I call him Baby Shaq. But he's a guy that definitely likes Tennessee. We've been in on him very early. We do a great job of identifying talent. I love his game. I love his skill set. The next player is going to be Zalis Hicks, who is a 6', 280-pound safety from Carrollton, Georgia. He actually was teammates with Mike Matthews down there at Parkview. Those are the clips that we're going to be seeing. I love his game. He's got to be one that's way up on our board for sure because he's, kind of could play free safety, but he plays safety more like a strong safety. He's not afraid to come up and make hits. That's what I love. So he's so versatile just because he's great in coverage. But boom, I'm like, look at how quick he triggers. That's crazy. I think that he's going to be a star. He should have a great season this year. I believe he is the #1 rated safety in the 2026 class. We got to do a better job of adding, really good talent at that position. I think that that's the only thing that we're missing. Imagine adding him to a guy like Shady Hayward, right? Like you have him playing it free, then you've got Shady playing it strong. All of a sudden, with that front seven that we know is going to be elite for years to come, we're going to be absolutely dominant. Next player is going to be Savion Hitter, 5'11" and a half, 190-pound running back from Virginia. Now, this is a guy that I absolutely love. He's that prototype NFL sort of a running back, just like we got with Cam Seldon and we got with Peyton Lewis, both also from Virginia. I hope that they will help us recruit this young man. I'm sure that they would, but some people have been asking, hey, when is Tennessee going to go out and get a five-star running back? I think we've got guys that are actually five-star caliber and we're underrated, but I know for some of y'all stargazers, it just makes you feel better whenever you see that five-star next to their name. But this is a guy who can literally do it all. He can also catch the ball out of the backfield. I think that we are in a really good spot with him. So do not be surprised if, whenever it's all said and done, he ends up coming to Tennessee. The next player is going to be Rodney Dunham. He's a 6'4", 215-pound defensive end from Charlotte, North Carolina. And he is absolutely dynamic. I think that he's a Leo all the way. The first couple of clips here, we're going to be seeing some interceptions. So you know that he can catch the ball whenever he's playing out in space. But whenever you really see him moving around, you can also tell that he's physically capable of playing out in space, just kind of dropping into some zones, maybe even man coverage. But he has great length. This guy loves Tennessee. He's very high up on us because of guys like James Pierce, who's also from North Carolina. So James Pierce should help us out tremendously. There's several other players like David Hobbs that's from North Carolina, and he's going to have a big breakout year this season. But this is a guy that I absolutely love his film. The next player is going to be Samari Matthews, 6', 180-pound cornerback, also from North Carolina. So y'all can see what I was talking about before. The North Carolina is going to be huge for us moving forward, especially in this class. I love his game. So he's got that size, he's got that length, and you can see right here, stand on top of the routes. That's one of my biggest things with all of cornerbacks. Just don't get beat deep, dude. I mean, you can always come up and make tackles. Just don't get beat deep. We'll deal with what we deal with as the field kind of shrinks, right? So he can also come up and challenge you physically, right? I mean, he's not afraid to get up at the line of scrimmage, play a little bit of bump and run. He's going to be great in man coverage, I think, zone coverage. But I also love the way that he triggers and comes up and run support. He gets off blocks very, very well. So that's one that hopefully we can add later on. Next, we have Jeraylin McCoy, 6'7", 245-pound defensive lineman from Mississippi. And the word out there is he's a little bit young and he's not done growing yet, right? So he could get up to about 6'8", maybe 300 pounds. That sounds a lot like Big John Henderson. I'm not saying that that's who he's going to be, but I'm just saying based off of his measurables and his size, that would be insane. Now, I'd like him a little bit more maybe as a defensive tackle, but he could also play, I think, strong side DN. You're seeing that he's a good athlete. He changes directions well. He's got good straight line speed. He's explosive and he has extreme length. So he's a guy that could probably bat down some passes and things like that for you and just, be another tool up on that defensive line. Next, we have Leo Delaney, 6'5", 275-pound offensive tackle from Providence Day School. Now, this is the same school that David Sanders and Kendra Harrison play at. I love his game. I think that he is a technician. Now, he does still have some things to kind of work on. Keep in mind, y'all, like we're watching their sophomore films. They're going to grow a lot from now in the time that they arrive on campus. But their foundation is what we're looking at right here. And I mean, he moves very well. I like him really anywhere on the offensive line. I don't think that he's just pigeonholed into playing tackle, but he can play tackle. So you have to feel good about that. And you can just tell that they've got somebody up there that's teaching them how to play with some, I would say advanced level techniques. They haven't mastered them just yet. But next player is going to be Tyreek Green. We call him Top Boogie down here in Buford, listed at 5'10 and a half, 190-pound athlete. He can play running back, but he can also play safety. I believe that Tennessee is recruiting him to play safety. And I've been waiting to kind of talk about him because I wanted to hear from the insiders first. Now that they have, put the information out there, I can let y'all know he loves Tennessee. I think that he, really wants to go to Tennessee. We are in his top, I would say, two, at worst three. But I like him a lot at safety. Very versatile. Again, we've got to add some better bodies there. But if you've seen his film, if you watch his whole thing, then you'll know he can run that daggone rock too. So extremely, extremely versatile athlete that I am expecting to come on home to Knoxville. Next, we have Elijah Littlejohn, 6'3", 215-pound defensive end, also from Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, he reminds me of Christian Gass, but kind of like the flip version of it because Christian Gass, I believe, is more of a linebacker that can also play Leo. But in my opinion, Elijah is a Leo that can also play linebacker. So very versatile. I mean, he's extremely twitchy and explosive. I love the way that he plays the game. He's one that sounds like he's also very high on Tennessee. Would absolutely love to add him. I think that he's got to be a priority because we need to go out and get more linebacker bodies moving forward. And if we could add him or, at least get off to a good start early on in this process, I think that that looks really good for guys like William Inge, Coach Inge. I think that that would be huge. So the next player is going to be Brody Keefe, listed at 6'2", 285-pound. He's a wide receiver also from Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, I love him running his routes. He's a technician, and he has great body control. He also has good straight line speed. He can kind of get that separation in and out of his breaks. He can take the top off, things like that. But he's a guy that, I feel like Tennessee has been in on for quite some time. He really likes Tennessee. We're killing North Carolina, y'all. We're doing a phenomenal job. So it would be huge to add him as maybe more, like a slot body, for the 2026 class, because we are going after some bigger guys, but you have to also keep on adding some depth at the slot position. I could see him playing there, but I could also see him playing outside just because of the way that he's savvy in running his routes. Boom, like look at that break right there. That's very impressive. So the next player is going to be Craig Tutt. He's a 6', 180-pound safety out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I love his game too. Again, we've got to be very heavy on targeting safeties, the good ones early and often. Great breaks on the football. He has really good straight line speed. I think that he could be an elite coverage safety, but he also will come up and he kind of plays like a linebacker. So we're going out and targeting the right people on that third level. That's exactly what I was hoping to see. So that's very encouraging. And it does sound like he's another one that's very high up on Tennessee early on. Now, the question is going to be, will we be able to, add multiple safeties in this class? Do they all want to come in and play together and compete? Some people don't want to, but the right people do. So that's what I'm hoping to hear from all of these guys as we're going through this process. But he's one that you could use as almost like a, gadget piece, kind of like a Swiss Army knife, can do a lot of different things. And again, just very physical in run support. Next, we have Ja'Cory Smith, 6 tall, 180-pound linebacker. He's from Arkansas. A lot of folks don't think that he wants to leave the state of Arkansas, but it does sound like he's been making sure that the insiders know that he does not mind doing it. Now, he's a dog. He's a heat seeking missile. I think that he is like a prototype Mike linebacker in today's football that can also play out in space. You have to be able to do that these days, but he's going to have to gain some weight. Obviously, we're just looking at his sophomore film. He should get up to, I would say, pretty easily 225 by the time he gets up on campus, if not 230. He could probably play at about 235 plus. But this is a guy, again, kind of going back to Arkansas. Is he going to look at them and say, well, you know what? They had a really bad season this year, and we don't know what's going to be going on with their coaching staff. Maybe it is Tennessee. That's how I'm feeling about it, especially, again, whenever we come out and our defense is playing lights out, some of these guys are really going to love us. Now, next we have Deion Thomas, 6 foot, 395 pound wide receiver. He's currently at Westlake High School in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, he was and is teammates with Travis Smith. Now, I got to see him in person. I think he might be a little bit bigger than Travis Smith, as a sophomore or as a rising junior. And he runs really good routes. He's a dog. He's going to go up and get that football, and he has good straight line speed. So he would be a guy that hopefully Travis Smith can help us bring on home. But I was just very impressed with how both of them were kind of operating in the 7-on-7 deal that I got to see, and just how smooth and fluid both of them are. So they have really good coaches down there at Westlake that's getting them right, and it sounds like he's very, very high up on Tennessee. Hopefully, we can get him off the board early, and maybe he can help us to go out and add some more pieces that we're going to need in this class. Now, the last player is going to be Tyson Bacon, 6'4", 239 pound defensive tackle. So he isn't that big just as far as weight at this point, but obviously he is still growing. I think that he's a true defensive tackle. He's also twitched up, right? I mean, he's not super twitchy, but he is a twitchy guy for a tackle. I would say he's more of like a Bryson Eason type, just for like a point of reference, so that we understand what we're talking about here. He's a guy that prototype 3 technique, and he can get things done. So I was just impressed with the way that he's able to hold up at the point of contact, versus different bodies and all that. But he's extremely high on Tennessee. I would not be surprised if he takes a bump up in his ratings, and also if he does end up choosing Tennessee whenever it's all said and done. But obviously, we're off to a great start for the 2026 class. Like I told y'all, that could end up being top 3 for sure. And I think that we're going to have a strong finish to the 2025 class once that's all said and done. But let me know y'all's thoughts about all this down in the comment section. As always, thank you for sticking all the way to the end. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.